Cherie Lucas. I'm a Nexus Fellow, and I'm very honoured to present this session to you. There's 160 people interested in this session. So what we're going to do, just because there's quite a few online, if there are any questions, we're going to leave them to the end. And my colleague, Chris, is going to monitor the chat. And then we're going to address the questions online first, and then any questions in the room. All right. As a disclaimer, these are obviously my own insights. I've been using LinkedIn for the last 10 years. And I'm just here to share those insights. So welcoming any questions or any other further insights for anyone online as well. All right. I'd like to acknowledge the Bedigal people who are the traditional custodians of this land. And I'd also like to pay my respects to the elders past and present. Okay, so what if the world didn't know what you do? All those years of researching and publishing and teaching and mentoring, largely to be invisible outside of UNSW. That would be such a shame. Think of a platform now that allows your academic identity to be more than just a title or your CV or anything that anyone can get from your staff profile. And this is what LinkedIn can do for you. You can have a voice, you have your vision, and you have your values that you can share. Just a little bit about LinkedIn, in case you're not aware, in 2002, it was conceptualised by Reid Hoffman in his lounge room. And Reid Hoffman and his co-founders launched it in 2003. It went public in 2011, and it was acquired by Microsoft in 2016. And then in 2024, it surpassed 1 billion members. So initially, in the first month, they had 4,500 members, and now 2024, 1 billion members. So there are a lot of people to engage with on LinkedIn if you use it. All right, so why use LinkedIn? It's a tool for academic visibility and thought leadership. It's a way to encourage online collaboration and engagement. And engaging with policymakers or even non-academic audiences. I know we're focusing on academic audiences here and obviously academic and professional staff, but it is a way of engaging where our research and where the impact can go. So engaging with those types of audiences. It's a platform to amplify scholarship. Certainly a platform for jobs. So that's how I found this job as a Nexus Fellow. It was Attila on the video, and that came through my feed, and I thought, oh, that's a very interesting job. And that's how I came about getting this job. But also it's great for monitoring and checking where other people have jobs, because as they change jobs, you see where they change to. So it's really great. You can see that as well. So why use LinkedIn? I engage with national and international networks and professional bodies in my own field. I also connect with my former students, peers and collaborators. And I like using LinkedIn to amplify others as well as yourself. Obviously, we want to disseminate our work, but you can also amplify your peers and their work. And I just want to show you some strategies that I use to do that. So it's not just metrics, it has meaning. And this is where it's a little bit different to your normal staff profile or any other platform. Just so you know, every 60 seconds, LinkedIn has 90 plus people add a new role to their profile, 10K members apply for jobs, 1.3 million members have feed updates, and 16K have new connections made. So it is an area where you can connect. Do you have to be tech savvy to use LinkedIn effectively? I am the most non-tech savvy person. In fact, IT have me on fast dial, and I can tell you that is not the case. It is more about being intentional and not technical. So what do I mean by that? I mean about have a sense of what you want to communicate. Who do you want to connect with? And what kind of engagement that feels authentic to you. If you've got those three things in mind, you'll be able to work through the rest. I consider it as my digital academic business card. So this is what I showcase out there. I'm quite visual on LinkedIn, however, only visual to my connections. And I am going to go through some of the privacy settings so you can see what is some of the options there. If you haven't registered for LinkedIn, that's the registration link. I assume most people who have attended today have. But just looking at the dashboard, you've got your home toggle. That is important when you want to post something. You've got your network. So anyone in your network, anyone with the algorithms will come up in that network. And you might recognize someone in that network that is on LinkedIn, and you might think, oh, I wouldn't mind following that person or seeing if they want to accept an invitation. The jobs, I have that open. Recruiters can contact me. And I like to know what jobs are out there anyhow, regardless. Whether I'm looking for a job or not looking for a job, it's always good to know what's out there. The messaging aspect is your private messaging. So anyone that you want to privately message is through that. Notifications, that will be pinged every time someone mentions you. One of your network feed connections have made some announcement, you'll get a notification. But the main part of your toggle, the main one would be the profile picture and the me toggle here, because anything in that drop-down menu is what we're going to add as evidence. That's where you'll get, that's where most of the information you'll be adding to. Okay, so your LinkedIn profile essentials. All right. I see it's like you're creating a professional online persona, and you're still maintaining a sense of privacy depending on your privacy level. So what are the main essentials? Of course, your bio is one of them. Now, this is called the About section, and this is a section that is probably going to be most read. And you really want to make sure that you really put, I call them the jewels, put the jewels up top. What's the most that's going to set you apart? I give this lecture, or it's very, rundown, a very stripped down lecture to students on this and what to include in their About section. Education and experience is another area where you can add that. Your research areas, so if you're a researcher, a combined track especially, you might want to include that. I have links to my publications in the publication section, but obviously check your copyright details for that. So regardless, you can still send a link, you still have a link to the original paper. You can do a screenshot of the abstract. You can include authors, an author list and a title, and I usually just do that. Recommendations can be made on your behalf, and that's actually great because they are timestamped. So you can use it for promotion applications, senior fellow in higher education applications, those sorts of things. And I have actually used a few of my recommendations in that capacity. You can provide recommendations for another peer. And connecting and following UNSW alumni or searching for people and positions. I've got to be honest, I've worked across 3 universities over the last 25 years, 16 years at Sydney University, 8 years at UTS, and came here about 1.5 years ago. And I didn't know anyone really. I knew one person, I think, that worked here. And I wanted to tap into all the people that's in the education focused community. And so I put it out there. So I wanted to follow them. I mentioned in my messaging that I'm a new Nexus Fellow. I'm very interested in, connecting. And quite a few of you, actually, thank you, connected and said, look, we'd love to catch up for a coffee. And I just thought, oh, even that made me feel like it's a very nice environment to work in. You can add your skills as well, and any special awards or recognitions as well. And media links. So if you've had some media with the conversation, you've done some videos or chat on campus, they have lots of media links, you might want to add that to your LinkedIn profile. All right, so I've given my profile as an example, but I've also got another profile as well. One thing I wanted to just mention is this headshot photo. This is an authentic photo. My colleague took that photo. I was presenting in Aberdeen University a few years ago. It is a professional photo. So obviously you want to make sure that's professional. For those of you who haven't connected to me, you will see that as blank. There'll be nothing there. For those of you who have connected with me, you'll see that photo. And that's just due to my privacy settings. I would suggest, and I've had chats to media teams about this. I mean, I haven't actually done the right thing. I've got a white on white background. It's actually better to have a bold colour with no patterns on a white background and a headshot, obviously this part up. However, that is a professional photo, and if you are presenting, it's authentic and it's professional, so it's something you could possibly use. I wanted to showcase what I did. So I used another photo. I work in simulation in the interprofessional space, and this is my, working with the SimMan 3 and a mannequin and my students, and that gives an indication of the type of work I do and also shows that I'm a teacher of some capacity. This part here underneath is called the header. Now, obviously, there's certain character counts for that, and you want to make sure that you're bringing the best aspects of your work or something that's going to set you apart from the others in your field. This area here shows the last thing I've engaged with. So as that changes, University of Sydney I can't remember what it was, I engaged in something there, and I'm also one of the co-leads in CAFIA as well in AI. So that will come up and change as you add things. So if you consider your feed is your academic neighbourhood, and what we mean by feed is it's like your homepage. And that's really curated by your network, and it's shaped by the interactions you have with your network. So my academic feed, my feed is this. So I follow UNSW Medicine and Health. Most UNSW all of the faculties have a UNSW handle. So I would be checking what faculty you're from, and anything that comes up with UNSW Health, Medicine and Health will come up in my feed. So just think about who you want to follow and why that matters. Your feed is a reflection on who you follow and engage with. So that's what's going to come up as much as possible. Make your network work. All right, so when do you tag and when do you hashtag? So tagging is more specific to a person, institution, or organisation. So you tag a person that you're trying to connect with. You tag an institution. You tag UNSW. I actually tag UNSW every single time, but I also tag the relevant faculty or schools. And as a Nexus Fellow, I do work across faculties and schools. So I work with different people and I tag their schools or faculty as well. And also obviously tag or hashtag UNSW Nexus. That shows where we're coming from. If you're a researcher, I definitely tag the funding body, the collaborators, and anyone that might be interested in the post. And the way I would do that is distinguish that the authorship is, and I would tag all the authors, but then I will write CC, like some people that might be very interested in this post, CC, and tag some maybe professional bodies or something that might be interesting. And obviously, for anyone that's in the online space here and in the room, I always follow UNSW Education and Student Experience. So if you think of your hashtag, that is like your topical indexing. So your hashtag is what you're categorizing your area of interest. So I hashtag assessment, I hashtag feedback, I hashtag Gen AI, I hashtag interprofessional education. So that is that's how I will pinpoint where the area of interest is. Stay visible, but stay in control. So I'm particularly concerned about cybersecurity and those sorts of things. So I've got the kind of highest level of privacy settings on my privacy control. However, I'm an academic, and I realise that as academics, we need to disseminate our work. They need to know our surname. They need to know some aspects of our work. So it is a little bit different, but I will show you some of the areas where you might want to consider. So in LinkedIn, under the Me icon, as I mentioned before, there's a drop-down menu called Privacy Settings. And under that drop-down menu, There'll be account preferences first. This is where you can have your profile information, your display modes, and general preferences. But what is interesting here is account management. So some of you may have, accessed LinkedIn a number of years ago. You've got a pretty old account. It needs major updating, and you're thinking, oh, well, I've got another account now. This is a place where you can hibernate one or remove one, and you can change that. Sign in and security. So that is that part where you add your email address. Now, you add a primary and secondary email address. I always add a personal primary email address, and I add maybe the institution as a secondary. The reason being, I have actually worked across the different institutions and professional bodies, and you want to make sure you can access your LinkedIn account if you do move institutions. This is also where you change your passwords, and this is also where you add your two-step verification process. So we're going to the account preferences. We've got the sign-in and security. Now, visibility. How do you want to be seen online? So here I said only visible to my connections, but you can have it visible to everyone, even people off LinkedIn. But I just said to my connections. Who can download my email address? Well, I just said just me. No one really can see my email address, but then obviously they can look at stuff, profiles, and get that. What sort of visibility do I have here? In the visibility, it also shows you who can see who you follow. I don't really care for anyone else to know who I follow, so I've turned that off. In the data privacy section, it says how LinkedIn uses your data, and if LinkedIn can use all this data, I'm sorry, LinkedIn, I don't want to know, and I've toggled that off, and my data is my data. Who can reach you, and obviously that's where the job seeking preferences are. I've got that on just for getting to know what's out there. Just remember though, if you are looking at other people's profiles, because obviously you can, people can see that you look at those profiles. And if you are on LinkedIn at that time, I know it goes through a process and you may not see it after time, but and the notification will come up and it will say someone's looked at your profile. If that person's got a premium account, then you won't know who that person is. It'll just say someone private has looked at it. If they don't have a premium account, I don't have a premium account, I would then, I could, if I wanted to, be incognito and look at someone's profile, but I don't care if they know it's me. I don't care. Recruiters obviously look at profiles incognito or have a premium account. But just so you know, people do look. They can see who has looked at your profile. They do have blurred photos, but you can see. And even if you're not a premium member and you have incognito, it'll still say. It will still say something like a professor from UNSW has looked at your account, and that's, it's going to be someone like that. Okay, let's get started. All right. To write your academic origin story, and this is part of the about section, the bio section. Now, I've used DALL-E. This is a very, very poor makeover, but it is, this is some very basic information. Associate professor in health, program director in teaching and learning, and look, see, even DALL-E can't even spell learning. But there was some other areas there. It didn't really highlight any specific achievements. It lacked the active voice, and it really omitted strategic keywords. But let's face it, we've all got Copilot as a license. You can use this to do your bio makeover. So from that, it showcased, experienced health educator, program director in this particular area. And, obviously it's a little bit more engaging in the about section. So when you are writing bio, what do you want to be known for in your field? Who's your intended audience, and what achievements do you want to focus on and highlight? Okay, so just going through the me profile, just trying to work out why I wanted to put that there. In my about section, this is a screenshot that was taken a little bit, I've actually updated that, but use all the characters in the about section. I have used every character that I can use, but I also want to showcase the most prominent things that will set me apart, and obviously add your current role. I wanted to include, my work, what sets me apart, what I've done over the last few, many years. So I'm an experienced educator, and I've been awarded some awards along the way. So under the me toggle, yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You say what at the end, did you?
Yes. Is there something that's
very quick and pertinent to this? In the about section, sometimes I see people write in the first person.
Yeah. So that's
about that.
Yes. It can be both. I've seen both, and sometimes very well done in the first person. I prefer to do it not in the first person. I'll just, just obviously just give the details, but I have seen both done well. I don't have a preference. Maybe if you did have a preference, but I've seen both done very well. As long as you showcase what you're really, what sets you apart. But yes, absolutely, I've seen both. View profile, and then this is where you add all your profile sections. So your education, your position, you can add your career break, your skills, your recommendations, and any additional information. Proof of practice at a glance. So every time you go for a job, I can guarantee they're looking at your LinkedIn account. So if you have enough information there, or if they can see that you're engaged in that area, they can see that you're at the forefront of that as well. What evidence do you want to add to your profile? I've added my publications. If I had patents, I don't, but I would add it. Any honours and awards. I've also added grants in that section as well. So you've got some government grants and those sorts of things. Languages. I give this lecture to some international students informally, and I tell them add those languages. That's going to set you apart, of course. Your organisations as well, professional bodies. There's a section there where you can add your skills, and people online can endorse those skills. And I've just put clinical research and pharmacy, obviously. Now, praise is powerful. Share it through recommendations. I've given this as an exemplar because I actually used part of Blake's. This is one of my former students who did very well in a state counselling competition. He topped that, and then he went to the nationals, and I actually saw him perform at the national competition. It was actually fantastic. Did a great job. It was quite competitive. And I was his senior lecturer, and also a mentor along the way. And I used parts of this in my senior fellow in education and application, and it was time stamped 3rd of April 2024. It was topical. It was it can actually gave me evidence in certain aspects. So yes, if you've got former students that are going to make a recommendation, it's great to have something that you can actually use later on. And at the time, I didn't know I was going to use it for that application because I didn't apply for that until late last year. So let's get started with a post. That all starts with the home toggle. Then it says start a post, and then you can add media. So you can add a JPEG, you can add video, you can add others. But think about what you want to say and who has to be acknowledged. And acknowledgement is a big thing for me here, because in academia, we do not do things on our own. Even though you might lead projects or papers or anything, you have a team that you're working with, and acknowledgement is important. And of course, once the post is published, it goes onto your LinkedIn feed, and you can do what you like with that. They can be shared or reposted. So start a post, but start it with purpose. So this is the home toggle. This is what you'll see here. You can actually write an article. I've only done one article in the last 10 years. They're a bit longer, a little bit, that's when you've got a lot of information, a lot of media, and I rarely write an article. But a post does have a capped, it's capped at certain word counts. But I think it's still long enough, and I usually start with a post. So in terms of that, when you go through that start a post, you can actually use AI if you're struggling to start that post. The first one is add a video. The second one is a photo. It could be an event, and then there's a plus sign for more features. So in terms of, once you've done that, the event could be a milestone. You've got a new certificate, you've got a new job, you've got a new role. You could be hiring for your team. You could add a poll. You could add a document, you could find an expert. So there's so many options there, and a lot of academics, I noticed, they don't use all the options. They don't see the other options. They only see the limited options at the beginning. Make your milestones matter. So what can you post that will have impact? So first of all, research. Just published our latest paper. I usually say straight off the press or something like that, or attention, and I'll attention certain authors I think, or certain academics, and I'll attention certain people, attention interprofessional educators, or attention pharmacy educators, or whoever that might be. An event recap. I'm grateful, to speak at such and such conference, or keynote speaker here, or grateful to be involved in a panel at an event. You might want to amplify others. So congratulate my colleague who's done amazing work in this space. And that's a way of amplifying your peer. It could be a thought piece. This is how I've used AI in the classroom. It's really interesting how this person from the practice settings used it. And I think this is the way I use it, and you can engage in a thought piece. With that, resource sharing. This article changed the way I think about Gen AI, very topical at the moment. So that's something you might want to consider. But don't forget to hashtag, and hashtag higher education, Nexus, UNSW, and show some impact of the educators at this G08 university, which I'm very proud to be here, by the way. So reminder to tag your collaborators and funding bodies. Okay, where will your posts be kept? So I do write quite a few posts, and then I think, oh gosh, where's that post? I've forgotten the collaborator, or I've forgotten to add something, or oh my goodness, did I actually have a spelling mistake? And I didn't, but a friend of mine, or a colleague of mine, won this wonderful award, and there was a spelling mistake, and I just went through the messaging. Great, fantastic award. You spelt this incorrectly. Whoops, back into the post. This is how the person edited it, and it was reposted. So it's very easy. The posts will always be kept under the me icon in this drop-down menu, and there's posts and activities, and it's just one of those posts. And then there's the 3 little dots at the top, and you can just edit it. That's fine. So this is the part, deciding whether to share, repost, make a further comment. This is where, what are we going to be doing in terms of traction? Now, if you decide you want to share something, and privately you can share something by sharing the article. There's a little send button. You can share it to your messenger, which is a private messenger. And often I will share events to my colleague Anita that might be related to TEXA webinars, or something they might have missed, or I've just registered to this, and it'll be quick. Oh, great, thank you. And then that she'll know where the post is, and she can just register. And that's what I do with my colleagues. You can share publicly by the repost toggle, which is absolutely fine. You're giving traction to that. That's great. Decide if you want to repost it. Now, if you do repost it, it still keeps the likes in the original post. And if you just repost it without a comment, without thought, it's a repost with thoughts, then you're really giving traction to the original post, which is what I would like to do mostly. If you want to make further comments, you can repost with thoughts. Now, most people think reposting with thoughts is actually going to give bigger traction to the post. What it does is that you repost it. You've got the original post, you made your comment up top, you've got the thoughts around that post. That becomes your post now. So not that person's post, it becomes your post. So any likes and any traction starts to 0 from that point. So you're not really doing your colleague a favour who's done all the work in the original post. When you can repost is when you've got your thought leadership, but you have a huge following and there is engagement. If you don't have those things, don't do it. I think I think in the sense of what academics want to achieve, they usually have a post that they've got a link to a research article, or they've got all the details in the original post. The best way you can build traction for that would be to like that post, then to comment within the original post, then to tag whoever you think might be interested in that original post. And if you wanted to go completely back into the feed, you would then comment on other people's comments or like other people's comments within the original post. So whilst resharing with thoughts, it's great if you're a thought leader, you've got lots of things to say and you want to send it out to your neighbourhood, it's probably not going to be the best option for us. Where I can see it as an option is when you from the practice field into an educator field and vice versa. You might think, okay, I want to share it and then tag policymakers and so forth, and therefore that would get higher reach. But if it's purely about the work you're doing within the university and globally, and it's academic related, you want to give the most traction to the original post. Okay, so like the original post, if you want maximum outreach for that original post, make comments in one of the comments section in the original post. Tag whoever you want, tag the organisation, like and reply to any other comment. That means it will go back into the feed and it'll be top of your homepage and it's going to get traction. And then the notifications will come up and you'll see the traction on that post. Okay, so this is some examples of types of posts. New position, new role. This is just my examples. So I'm happy to share. I'm starting a new role. This picture comes up. There's 1 or 3 pictures that come up when you choose that. This happens to be the one that's current. But you can see I've tagged the organisation. I was co-lead in. I am co-lead in the AI network, and I'm also co-lead with my colleague Anita, and I've tagged her. So. Again, in academia, visibility is not a solo act. So when you do work, cross-faculty, cross-disciplinary, any of those things, cross-nexus fellows, whatever you're doing, make sure you talk about the work. Designing rubrics, I want to capture designing rubrics as a hot topic. I'm working with the Nexus Fellows. I've tagged the Nexus hashtag. I tag UNSW. It tags everyone that's connected to UNSW. I've tagged a hashtag Nexus project. I've done a screenshot of who the people are, that work with me. And obviously I've got more and I've screenshot I've tagged all of those collaborators. I've tagged their faculties and anyone that they think may be interested in that. And then in the comments, they've tagged people that may be interested in that. And we just, as a plug, we're actually doing this roadshow in half an hour after this workshop. Okay, so showcasing collaboration impact with an output. So for example, those collaborators, we work together on an international scholarly blog, well recognised in pharmacy education, but because we've done it more broadly, I had my Nexus Fellows, Helena, Mark and Chris involved with this publication, and obviously I tagged Angalia and different faculties there and schools and the full article as a link as well. So I work with Nexus Fellows, other Nexus Fellows and Nexus Educational Developers, and we had a conference output. We were all part of a panel. I wanted to also state that it was from 1:30 to 2:30 in the morning, and all of us, 7 of us, kept up with coffee, and we had this panel. This was led by Patsy Polly, who's one of our Nexus Fellows in Medicine and Health, and we presented to Dalhousie University in Canada, and I actually hashtagged the conference that they were at. We had some good traction on that and some collaborations and questions back and forth from all of us on the few of us on the panel. So that's got some traction on that. So showcasing a timely hot topic, Gen AI is quite timely at this point in time. I actually put out, I was working with Anita and we did we actually developed a course convener toolkit, which has a lot of resources in it, and for faculty in medicine and health. And all I did was showcase the front page of this toolkit. I didn't give anything away other than that, and explained who was, about the toolkit and the priority areas and the university priority areas. And from that, just that one pager and tagging the relevant people, someone from Curtin University who works in ISOTL contacted me, and now we've got an MOU with Curtin University. We've both written together, and we'll be presenting some work over there following HRSA. And this is now sharing insights and also sharing cases that we do here in terms of using Gen AI in health across all the sort of health disciplines. And that's only from one a screenshot of one page. So, and she contacted me and said through LinkedIn, said, look, I'd like to connect. Can I have a chat? And that's how we came about. Amplifying others. So I've got research students, and you've all probably had research students or PhD students or even students you just mentor. Obviously, I wanted to say I'm proud. So I moved across. So I was doing some work in Gen AI with one of my students at UTS, and this work was published last year when I was just moving across. But I wanted to acknowledge the work that he led, and we obviously completed here. And this is some of the work that he had done. But also acknowledging my PhD student. She's doing some work in the metaverse and training and health professions. So, that having that acknowledgement that this is the work they've led. And so the pharmacy student tagged all the pharmacy people, and the nursing student tagged all the nursing people. So amplify your colleagues' achievements. Another example is one of my colleagues from the USA. We published this work, but she led the publication. I wanted her, she actually said to me, I'm not very savvy on LinkedIn, can you put this out there? And I said, I'm happy to do that. And then she made some comments within that. But I also want to acknowledge a really great post, and as an example, Andrea did a really great post last week, and I didn't attend this, so I'm sorry I didn't attend, but I really love the post as an example because she tagged relevant people at UNSW. She tagged the people that were presenting. Sorry, I'm trying to fit everything on the same slides here. There were quite a few people presenting that day. My Nexus colleague, Deanna, and my Nexus fellow colleague, Mark, and other colleagues as well. And what I loved about it, that you actually showcased what was done. You actually tagged the right people, and you've acknowledged the right people along the way. And I want to use that as an exemplar, and a fantastic piece of work. So I liked it. Now, I didn't attend this event, but how could I amplify this further? I liked the post. I made some comments and hashtags here. So I tagged UNSW again, go back into my feed now, and also tagged what that kind of meant. Then I liked everyone's comment from that point onwards. So it went back into the feed, and I just wanted to get that traction. If I had attended that event, and apologies, I couldn't attend that event, I would have made comment on the reflection around that event. That would have made it a bit more, probably a bit more traction there. But from my capacity, I felt like I've amplified my colleagues in a way that was authentic to me. Now, of course, you want to amplify the stuff that you do and disseminate the work you do as well. So this particular paper I didn't even know, this is independent research by Oxford University researchers and Air Force Medical University in China. And they did research on the top 10 authors globally who had impact on pharmacy education worldwide. And I was ranked #1 in Australia and 9th globally. And it was my PhD supervisor, who's ranked 10. She's the only other Australian on the list, and she was the one that drew my attention to this. But of course, I led all those projects, but I didn't do that on my own. I led that with a group of colleagues, and I did several projects over many years, and I wanted to ensure that they were acknowledged. So a big shout out to the key global collaborators, and a big shout out to my key national collaborators there, that people who are on LinkedIn and so forth. And I tried to use all the characters so as possible, and tap into the right people. And even if they weren't on LinkedIn, I'd mention them by name. You can feature your favorite posts on your profile. There's a feature sign. I just change it as I think something's topical. So I've just got a few things there. Best time to post. Now, this is kind of my insights. So you might have different insights to this. So I did ask Gen AI what they thought, and very similar to what I actually do. So Tuesdays and Thursdays between 8 and 10:30 is when I kind of generally post in your local time. But the other thing is, if you're at a conference and it's topical, it's happening, and people are already engaged during a conference, doesn't matter what time it is. And avoid weekends, because unless you're really tagging or you're focusing on an international conference, which is obviously the time changes, I'd probably avoid weekends. People just shut down on these things over the weekend. All right, I wanted to showcase something else that I thought was interesting, because when I came here, I didn't know many people, but I wanted to tap into UNSW and the EF community. And I also wanted to tap in, who people are, following in some of the groups. Well, this student, I've got to say, this is a student of 88. So he's a current student. He loves the university so much that he put something out on LinkedIn, and I use his student profile. I got permission to use it. I've actually got him to speak to some of my students as well, because he's an international student and he loves the university so much. He put out this fantastic post, and he actually ended up getting a job that wasn't even advertised. So I wanted to show you. This is William Nguyen, and he put this fantastic post. I love the UNSW employability slogan, make work for you. And he's, hashtag the right thing, people, the right targeting areas. He's got a great photo, and it really the photo captured a lot of people. So he started having, 50, 60, 70 people following him. And I started noticing some traction on this, and I just kept on coming up in my feed. And so I want this job so badly, and then he's tagged UNSW employability, very smart, savvy way of doing it. He also said why he'd be so good for this social media assistant role, that is, they were just kind of like tapping in looking for, and then he's got his credential, like he's got his metrics down there. And I thought this student is actually, he is the social media expert. And I couldn't help myself. I said, you convinced me. Right, so I put in the comments, this is the first month of being here, I went, you convinced me, I'd give you the job type thing. So I then reposted it to my followers, and we've had that connection. It was an online connection until he actually spoke to my students and didn't meet him until then. And then he had a hiring manager update, and he got waitlisted, and of course he got the job. And you probably, if you are following UNSW, well, and ADA as well, you will see him. He now speaks at big, huge events, government events, student engagement events. He has fantastic photos of the university. That's why it comes through my feed all the time. And there's a lot of engagement. So I just thought, well, I'm going to support someone that has done this much work, deserves all the support that he can get. So what do you think is the biggest barrier to maintaining an academic presence on LinkedIn? Any thoughts on that online? Just the biggest barrier is just, what do you think?
The time, like afterthought to maintain.
Time. So yes, time. Let's go from hesitation to habit. And what I mean by that is I didn't spend much time at the beginning. I spent 15 minutes a day, and I still only spend 15 minutes a day over the last 10 years, right? For 5 days a week. 15 minutes a day. It's the first thing I do. I wake up, have my coffee, look at my emails, and 15 minutes a day, and I'll see what's come through. And, if I don't do it in the morning, I'll do it at some stage later in the afternoon. So my call to action to you is spend 15 minutes a day. That's all it takes. And do the little things. View someone's post. Just engage with that post if you want to. Like, comment, or just repost it. You're actually helping your colleague by just even reposting it without any comments. It's just going back into someone else's feed, and it's making traction. I'd start with your own faculty posts with likes or comments. And then when you're ready, you can start to create your own post. And if you're a little bit uneasy about your own post, get it peer reviewed. I mean, you've got a colleague somewhere that's done this, get it peer reviewed, have a look at it. It's fine. And even if you did get out there and it's not quite right, you can always edit it under the posts and activities. So let's stay visible, let's stay connected, and let's stay ahead of the game. I see UNSW as gaining traction with the blogs in LinkedIn. I see a lot of engagement by our academics and professional staff. And I can tell you, working across 3 different universities, this engagement is great for the university. It also shows that we're engaged in what we do, and we have impact, and we can then work with other people, and we're being visible. But of course, let's keep this conversation going. And I would really appreciate if you could all have, there's an evaluation form as well. If you could make some comments there in any way I could update or improve on these. It's a bit of a snapshot of LinkedIn, but hopefully it gets you through the mechanics and also some of the things to consider when you're using LinkedIn. So what I'm going to do, I'll leave the evaluation online, but I'll get Chris to unmute herself and just ask some questions or what's happening in terms of questions online. Chris?
Yeah, we had a question a while ago from Norella, and she was asking about including years, and someone else then asked, I think it was Emily, around acknowledging career breaks like having children and having caring responsibilities. So I'm wondering what you think about putting years when people have been doing things for a long time and it might age them, or if they've had breaks and things like that.
Okay, so I don't mind at my stage doing years because it hopefully shows I'm experienced, and that's why I put the years. I actually wouldn't actually recommend the break, the career break, because women come and go, and part-timers and even men who are paternal leave members as well. Like there's so many. I would probably not use that that particular function at all. That's just my personal preference. But and as for the years, I have seen others. It is obviously I've got back to even where I started school and that sort of thing. It does make things more visible. And maybe it's best not to have the years there. That is a personal preference, but I have had that. And to be honest, when we're having reunions, that's how people connected, because no one recognised anyone after a certain age group.
And
question.
Yeah, Ingrid's just asked, is there an alt text function or prompt for photos and videos?
I think there is.
There may be, yes. Okay, I'm not sure. I haven't used it. Yeah. Okay.
But when you choose a photo, I think you can click and choose, to add, for accessibility.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, well, from one of the senior educational developers, that's the answer.
Yeah, and I think it's probably the correct answer as well. I haven't used it either, but it makes sense that they would have that functionality. And one last question, Catherine has asked, is it silly to like or repost old posts? Because she's keen to start using LinkedIn, but a lot of great content is from past events. And, she managed when she wasn't using LinkedIn. So is it worth still doing that?
So you're saying she's going to be liking past events and bring it to the forefront in her feed? Is that the question?
I think so.
If it is something that she's now working on and it's improved and she's adapted and moved forward, I can't see why not, because you can say how much work is done since then, and it gives, this has been, in the making for 7 years, and now look where we are. I think that's fine. That's where you have your reflective component. That's why you have your vision of where that might take someone. So I would say that is still okay, as long as you've got somewhere. What is the message you want to get across? So if the message is there has been a lot of work in the space and there has been traction, or there's a change of direction, add that comment. I would say that that's okay.
Yeah, so it's about commenting with the reason that you're reflecting on it or something like that. So you're putting it into context. That's such a perfect answer to that question, I think. So there's one last question before we take questions from the room, and that was Natalia is wondering if you're using premium or just the basic version of LinkedIn.
I'm using the basic version. I actually get offered 6 months free because I've covered every avenue of LinkedIn. I never say yes to it because I'm one of these ones that probably forgets a subscription of some sort afterwards, and then that's it. The money's just going. So I think I personally don't think the only reason you would use premium is if you kind of want to know who's looking at you and they give you all the details and how long and the analytics. I really don't care. I mean, really, the purpose that we're using it for is dissemination, showing impact. I don't care if someone sees me looking at their LinkedIn profile, because it's great. I'm trying to see what else that person's done. So I never go in incognito, but I know some colleagues of mine have, and we had a bit of a test around that as well. I mean, look, you still get some identification. It will be someone at UNSW has seen your profile like 13 minutes ago. It will be something like that.
Fabulous. That's all the online questions for now. Thanks.
Hey, thank you. Any from the room at all?
It's really comprehensive.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. I know I'm a bit of a fast talker, but we've got another. If you are, interested at 11:30, we've got the AI rubric design. That's a big plug. So please, got my colleague in the room. So please attend that if you wanted to know more about how to use AI for your rubrics. And also on Thursday, I'm also giving another talk on